Good evening from Boston. My name is Rafael Trujillo. I'm an assistant director for intercultural recruitment. I get to work with students in Western Mass along with Adriana. I also do New Mexico, Florida, and international. So if I have anybody from Mexico, Central America, and South America, super happy that you're here. Congratulations, felicidades, bienvenidos. Really happy to welcome you. Molly, do you want to jump in?
Of course. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm excited to be here with you tonight and chat a lot about Emerson. My name is Molly Shaughnessy. I am an admissions counselor here at Emerson College, and I work with students in many areas, including DC, Maryland, Virginia, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and some other Midwestern states and parts of Massachusetts. I am an Emerson alum. There are a few of us on this call tonight, so I always like to point that out too. And I'll pass it over to Diana.
Hi everyone, my name is Diana and I'm Diana Morales and I'm the Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions. I do recruit in some of the Boston areas. I do see a local Cambridge person in the chat. I also do Tennessee, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Carolina, North Dakota, Kansas, and Arkansas. So congratulations and thank you for joining us tonight.
Super. And I will introduce myself properly. My name is Adriana. I use she, her pronouns, and I work primarily with folks in the New England region. So if you are anywhere in New England, Connecticut, or New York state outside of the boroughs, we have possibly worked together or will work together in the future. So it's wonderful to have you all here. I'm going to turn things back over to Raphael to kickstart some of our information.
Thank you, Adriana. So, one important aspect is scholarships and financial aid. So, if you were looking for your merit scholarship information, this is going to be included in your acceptance letter. So, you can see the details of your scholarship as well as the amount. Financial aid packages are coming out soon, so keep an eye out in the next, 48 hours for those to be posted on your application portal as well. So all the information necessary moving forward will be located in your application portal. Couple of things to keep in mind. Make sure to submit your FAFSA. So if you don't receive a financial aid package, there is a likelihood that there is something, there might be materials missing or there was something wrong with your FAFSA, you can always check out with the financial aid office. For all of my international students, if you have any questions about Merit Aid, make sure to reach out to your admission counselor so we can work with you on those aspects. Similarly, if there is a change of financial circumstances in your families, this can be communicated to us through the student aid appeal on your application portal after your financial aid package is received. So keep that in mind. And once again, any information that you need will be found in your application portal.
Yeah, so I'll be briefly doing a quick overview about housing. We'll definitely delve into more of the questions that are pertaining to housing, but just generally, just so you all aware, we do require students to live on campus for the first 3 years. This is our way of kind of guaranteeing that you will have a room to live on while you're at Emerson. You will be having all of the housing application and all those other things will typically be going live in around May. That's all going to be done through your portal. Through there, you'll be able to do your housing application where you'll be asked some questions that will help determine who your roommates are. So just be on the lookout once you go ahead and do that deposit and stuff. Just be on the lookout for that information to come.
And picture yourself at Emerson, my favorite event of the year. Very close in competition to orientation. Also, one of my favorite events at Emerson. So, picture yourself at Emerson is going to happen April 11th, starting at 9 a.m., bright and early. We're going to welcome you to campus. It is a fantastic opportunity to meet other admitted students, check out classroom spaces, some of our equipment spaces, theater spaces, library, all that through tours and everything. So it's a great way to just experience campus and see what it would be like to be a student at Emerson through Picture Yourself. So if you're able to join us, we would love to have you. We're also always happy to welcome you to any tours and virtual events too, but if you're able to make it, we would love to have you on campus April 11th for Picture Yourself at Emerson. And for everybody out on the West Coast, we're also going to be doing a West Coast Regional Admitted Student event on April 18th from 1 to 4. So you'll receive that invitation in your email. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. It's on April 18th, that West Coast Admitted Student event. So we hope to see you at those events. Oh, and you can register in your portal as well for Picture Yourself at Emerson. I should point that out too.
Yes, we love our admission portal. We also love to send things to your email. So both of those places are great places to keep an eye on throughout this process, as well as the admitted student page. So admitted.emerson.edu is a great place to visit for all information related to being an admitted student at Emerson. A couple other next steps to keep in mind. You'll have until May 1st to reply to your offer of admission and submit your deposit, and that'll be done right in your portal. As we mentioned, we have our April 11th Picture Yourself at Emerson event in Boston, and then we also have the April 18th event, and that is taking place at Emerson, Los Angeles. We will be sending out via email in the next couple of days information about that event, so just keep an eye on your email, and there's going to be plenty of details about that. I know there's also folks asking how they might be able to experience the campus if they can't make those events, which is a great question. We are running tours and information sessions constantly. So just pop on the admitted student page. There's a link there that says visit, and you can sign up for one of those tours and or information sessions. There are also admitted student specific options. You can do the regular ones too, but if you want to do the admitted student specific ones, you'd be with other admitted students and families. And if all else fails, you can always reach out to us at admission@emerson.edu and we can figure out what visit option might work best for you. Other things you may want to do, just keep an eye out for other event invites. So like I said, we really do love sending you an email, so just keep an eye on that. We'll send you any updates or new events, ZME chat information for students, and other ways to connect. And then there are plenty of folks who are already curious about when you're going to get to campus. So make sure to save the dates. Orientation starts with move-in on August 26th. So make sure to pencil that in on your calendars. There will certainly be more information coming about that from our orientation staff once we get past May 1st and folks have made their decisions and commitments. But if you wanted to pencil that in, that is the date for you. All right, so let us get to some of your questions. So just as a reminder, you can submit questions in the Q&A box. If you can do that instead of the chat, it's hard to keep track of questions in the chat because they tend to get lost in the shuffle, but the Q&A box is all questions all the time. So if you put those there, we can make sure we get the answer for you. And just to clarify, because I know there was one question, so the April 11th date is in Boston. The April 18th date is at Emerson, Los Angeles in Los Angeles, California. So if you're out on the West Coast, you can go ahead and do that. All right, so let's get to some pre-submitted questions because I know many of you helped us out and sent those ahead of time, which is great. Let's see. Raphael, could you talk about if folks are looking to work while they're on campus, what are some of those work study / on-campus job opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question. And myself and Molly, we were student workers on campus. So we had that experience while we were at Emerson. I think there's a couple of things. Like, if you qualify for work study, that's going to be showcasing also on your financial aid package. There's also employment on campus. Multiple offices hire students from admissions to the library to the top desk to the different departments, and so goes on. So there's wonderful opportunities to work at different departments on campus as well. International students are also allowed to work on campus. So that's definitely a possibility if they want to join us and be part of our student employment. So those are some of the possibilities that you're going to have to be working on campus, and highly recommended. It's a really good experience to work on campus.
Thank you so much, Raphael. Um, Molly, can you talk a bit about a very popular question, what internship opportunities look like, and are they limited to Boston, or do we have some other options as well?
Absolutely, I would love to. Emerson does a great job of offering students a lot of different ways to learn about internships, to get comfortable with applying for internships. So, one of those main spaces on campus is going to be our Career Center. So, you can actually go to the Career Center and they'll look over your resume with you, they'll help you write a cover letter. Again, as I mentioned, I was a student at Emerson and I was there multiple times, and they were very, very helpful with going through your resume, helping you edit all of that, and getting you prepared to apply for an internship, even helping you prepare for interviews. So we always have that great resource in campus, and they're always keeping track of internship opportunities that students might be interested in. So they're always happy to share those resources with students and lists of internships that they know about. Emerson also has access to a platform called Handshake, and that is where a lot of internships and jobs can be posted that students can actually sort through themselves. So that's a fantastic opportunity to do some research on your own and see what internships are out there in areas you might be interested in. We also have some internship-based programs. So we do have a DC internship program, but we also have one of our main ones. We mentioned our LA campus. Emerson Los Angeles is a program where you would go for a semester and get an internship when you're in Los Angeles. So especially for students that are thinking about maybe making the move to the West Coast, but you don't want to fully commit to moving there, you get to try that out through that semester internship program. And even for students that are from the West Coast, it might be back to get home for a little bit. So we have some great internship resources on campus for students to get connected to and find opportunities on the Boston campus, but also outside of the Boston campus.
Thanks, Molly. Diana, could you talk a little bit about a couple of housing questions? So one was asking kind of where students in particular major get placed for freshman housing. Could you actually talk about what our housing policy is and where our first year students live?
Yeah, so typically our freshman students will be placed in what we call the little building. So majority of our students will be living there, depending on what kind of like we said, you would fill out a survey in terms of kind of like what your preferences are. So are you a morning person, afternoon person, evening person? Do you like loud music? So really trying to figure out and match up students that best suit also those similar traits. Based on that, they'll kind of put you in, depending on whether you're on double, triple, or things like that, they'll place you accordingly. A lot of our students who have been matched through this way oftentimes become best friends, continue to room throughout the 4 years. So I like to say that our system that we currently have in place is pretty accurate. Um, and yeah, I don't know if that completely answered the question.
I think that that got to the heart of it. And, if you have anyone has a follow-up question, feel free to toss that in the Q&A box. We'll be happy to take that. There was actually a related question, which I don't mind answering, which is that someone mentioned that they have another student that was able to interact with other students during, in the like roommate matching portal, and do we offer that option? So our matching system is more of a static form that a student will fill out in their portal through the housing and residential office. However, what we do have is a student-only portal platform, excuse me, called Zeme, and it is only for students, and it is separated by school. I'll make sure to add the link in the chat for any students who might like to join that aren't there already. So not only are there channels for other admitted students, but there's actually also a roommate channel. So if you do want to chat with other students with the intention of maybe meeting up with a roommate. That all said, I will say our housing folks are very confident and with good reason about their ability to match students through the housing preferences form. And they recommend that students lean on that option more than others. They find that it's more successful than students who might have, met another student and think they might make a great roommate. That might be true. But matching folks based on preferences and habits and things like that has proven to be really successful. So they often recommend that you lean on that. All right, back to the Q&A box. Raphael, can you talk about what credits we will accept from things like AP, IB, dual enrollment, other options, and what that looks like for new students.
Yeah, we're super thrilled that students are taking advantage of their curriculums, whether it be, the International Baccalaureate, A levels, AS levels, Cambridge, dual enrollment, and so goes on. So, congrats on taking those advanced courses. It demonstrates the level of rigor that you want in your academics, and you should be compensated for the hard work. So, as a first-time student coming into Emerson, you're allowed to bring 32 credits into the college. So you will send any transcripts that you have from those programs into the admission office, and we will make sure to share that with the registrar so you can get a credit evaluation. Based on the credit evaluation, you will get that document posted on your application portal so you can see what credits will transfer. So definitely, if you're taking any APs or any advanced courses, keep working hard. It is worth it, and you're almost there. So, and also make sure that once you finish those courses, you send us your official transcripts from the agency so we can evaluate them. And then you can have a result in your portal, most likely over the summer.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Raphael. Molly, as I go back, I'm scrolling through to find the question I was going to ask you there. There it is. Can you talk about maybe folks applied undecided, or maybe they aren't really 100% certain on the major that they applied with? Is it possible to change their major at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. If there is a program that you're thinking of as of now at this point in the process that you would like to change, then there is a major change request form located in your portal. So, say, for example, you applied creative writing, but you think you have learned more about the writing literature and publishing program and you would like to switch into the writing literature and publishing major. At this point, you could complete that major change request form for a program like that. It's just important to keep in mind, and this is true once you're past this point in the process as well, when you get onto campus, that it can be a little bit more tricky to switch into a performing arts program because they are audition-based programs. So anytime you're thinking about switching a major, if it was for a performing arts program, there is an audition process, and that can be very difficult to complete, just to be very open with it. It is a tricky process for performing arts students because they have that additional audition component. But for example, a major like within our communications departments, within our film department, writing, you can definitely complete that major change request form. And once you get on campus, your academic advisor is always a great resource to talk through any of those major change questions that you have. Maybe you get to Emerson and you're in communication studies and you find you have a love for political communications and you maybe want to make the switch rather than trying out both. You could always talk to your advisor about that too, and they'll help lead you through the process.
Thank you, Molly. Just as a reminder, if you can add questions in the Q&A box for us, they tend to get lost in the chat. So if you can add those in the Q&A, that would be really great. Raphael, can you talk about how we support the arrival of international students and what that kind of looks like and what support or things are offered there?
Yeah, no, we're definitely keeping an eye on our international students. So, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's always good to connect with your admission counselor, so we can be aware of any circumstances and when you're arriving. Also, our international students get to arrive to campus a few days earlier. So make sure you keep an eye out on those opportunities so you can settle in on campus a little bit earlier. So if you have any questions about transportation from Logan Airport into campus or you need any support, please don't hesitate to reach out to us so we can support you along the way. And we know that you're here and you arrive safely, not only to the United States, but also to campus.
Great, thank you. Diana, if a student is considering a gap year, can you talk a little bit about what they would need to do to let us know if they would like to request that?
Yeah, so for any students who are interested in taking a gap year, my biggest recommendation is to reach out to your admission counselor. Typically, the admission counselor will set up, whether it be via email or via Zoom, some sort of conversation, kind of trying to figure out maybe the reasoning for the gap, typically, we would require that you to let us know if you're looking to take a gap year for us for a semester or whole year, and then we would require some sort of justification, whether you are looking to work during that time or you're going to be traveling or anything like that. But there are some restrictions in terms of taking gap years. There is a limit on how many, if you decide to take, let's say, a class at a community college or something like that, there are some restrictions in terms of how many units you can take. Just because after that point, you might be considered a transfer student. So I would say if you are having any doubts or questions or anything of that regard, go ahead and reach out to your admission counselor directly, and you can go ahead and find who your admission counselor is, again, on your portal. So your portal will be your best friend for the next, few weeks, few months, and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say reach out to your admission counselor directly.
Yes, we can't emphasize that enough. I will make sure to add that link in the chat as well, directly to the page where we are all listed, but also we're all identified in your portal. So you can log in there, find our name, and on our website, you can find our email from that. Or you can always email admission@emerson.edu and they will connect you with us. Either works. Um, Molly, how many students also take on a minor in addition to their major? And would you say it's more difficult if you're pursuing a BFA degree?
That's a great question. A lot of students at Emerson tend to venture into adding on a minor or two or three, depending on how much space that you have in your schedule, how many credits you might have left to complete your degree. All of that comes into play, but it's very common to complete a minor at Emerson. For example, you could be a political communication student that really wants an art history minor. That's completely possible at Emerson. Or you could pick something that's a little bit more related to your program. It's just about if you'd rather continue the study of your program through a minor, get a little bit additional info on that program through a minor, or if you want to spend some time on something outside of your minor, like I mentioned, that art history minor program. If you are pursuing a BFA, again, that's where credits are going to come into play. So you're just going to want to take a look. We have a program called DegreeWorks where you can actually see all of your classes and all of your credits and how they all add up on your transcript. And from there, you can kind of decipher if a minor is going to work for you. It's all about if you think you can balance it. So you can absolutely do it. I know a lot of students that have actually, for example, with performing arts majors, combined it with a business minor to have that business mindset within the performing arts. So you can absolutely do it. It's just about if it's going to work for you and the credit space you have, depending on how many minors you want.
Great, thank you. Raphael, can you talk about what students do in regards to being involved in extracurriculars? How many can students join? What kinds do we have? What does that look like here?
Yeah, there's too many, over 150. And if you find four friends and you want to, and five with you and you want to make another club, by all means, all you need is an advisor and four more friends. So you have homework to get going if you want to build your own um, club on campus. But they range from anywhere from video games club. I remember sometimes walking along campus and they will get together in a room and play video games, to the newspaper, the radio station. You also have student theater on campus, which is super busy and they produce tons of shows throughout the whole year. A cappella, you have the Independent, which is an online platform that reviews film on campus and films that come out. So you definitely have plenty of choices. Amazon Independent Video, or professional sororities and fraternities. So you name it. Intramural sports, and she'll want to do a little bit of that. So we want you to be engaged. We want you to be part of the community, and clubs are one of the easiest way to get involved. One of my favorite events on campus when you're a student is the org fair. So all the organizations on campus come together that first Friday of the semester, and they get together at the gym and other spaces on campus to showcase the work that they do. And you can go table by table and ask them about the different work that they do, activities, and anything else that might be doing during the semester. And then you can decide if you want to receive more information and when is going to be the first meeting for that organization. So that's a great way to get to see all the different organizations on campus. And don't be shy. If a friend invites you to one of the events, check it out. You might fall in love with it. So, and it's a wonderful way to socialize as well.
And one quick follow-up question, Raphael. If someone is, say, a film major, but they really love theater and they want to get involved in that, are there any restrictions on doing that within our student organizations?
No, student theater is open for everybody. I remember going to one of the theater shows last year. They did High School Musical, and the lead, Gabrielle, was a Business or Creative Enterprises major. If you ask me, I would have never guessed that she was a Business or Creative Enterprises major. So we have really wonderful opportunities for students to do theater, a cappella, dance as well. So we have the urban dance club. So definitely Emerson is a place to follow and continue those talents that you've been doing in high school.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Um, Diana, can you talk about our campus in the Netherlands, a bit about how students can indicate they're interested in that, usually when they attend, things like that?
Yeah, so for our campus in the Netherlands, students will typically go there during their sophomore year, junior year, and typically this program is going to be about a semester. During that time, you'll get to live in our castle, which is Castile Wall, sorry. And during that time, you'll have the opportunity to take classes and also have the opportunity to, as part of the curriculum, be able to explore some of the outside cities and things like that. So definitely a great opportunity for students who are looking to get more of that study abroad experience for a semester. But in addition to like our campus in the Netherlands, there is also additional study abroad programs that students can take advantage of. But a majority of our students will choose to go to the Netherlands specifically.
Yes, and I think some folks were also asking about things like cost, which because it's an Emerson campus, we charge the same for tuition and housing. The only additional cost would really be something like your travel. Um, and so that's the only things that you would need to keep in mind for a program that's outside of Boston. Molly, can you start, and I'm happy to jump in if you'd like, talking about student accessibility services and if folks either need academic accommodations or housing accommodations, how they work with students.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. So, Student Accessibility Services is an office on campus that is a great resource. If you have any questions about accommodations or need any accommodations, and they'll work with you one-on-one to really help you define what would be needed for you on campus. So, whether that's academic accommodations like extra time on testing, or if you want all of your assignments written or help with note taking, they can help you with that at Student Accessibility Services. They'll even give you a letter to hand to your professor during that first week of school stating all of the accommodations that you've agreed on with Student Accessibility Services. So it makes it a little bit easier to share those accommodations with your professors academically. In terms of on-campus accommodations, for example, if you are a student that is interested in a single room for accommodation reasons, you could also work with student accessibility services and housing to navigate what that looks like in submitting a form and applying for a single for accessibility reasons. Adriana, would you like to add on to that as well?
Yeah, I think the only additional thing I can say is we will definitely talk a lot more about that process once we kind of get beyond May 1st. We actually typically do another one of these wonderful webinars where we'll invite some of our colleagues from Student Accessibility Services, Housing, the Registrar, etc., to talk about some of those things that you'll need to consider as you plan your transition to Emerson. There's never any deadline for when you can request academic accommodations. You can go to Student Accessibility Services at any time, and they will work with you regarding whatever you need academically. For housing, they will absolutely send out information about this, but typically they need to receive those requests by June 1st because they need time to work with our housing and residential education folks in order to make the housing assignments on time. So that's the only consideration if you're making an accommodation request related to housing specifically. Raphael, can you talk about what our general education requirements are, and kind of what those look like at Emerson?
Yeah, and that's a wonderful question. So usually your curriculum at Emerson is going to be broken down between the liberal arts perspectives and your major. So your major, minors, and electives is going to be about 60% of your time here at Emerson, and the remainder 40% is going to be the liberal arts curriculum. Within the liberal arts, you have two branches, the foundation branches that are going to be taking classes during your first year. So those are going to be, your writing, research, and also your oral communication. And then you're going to have your perspectives that these are going to go from, aesthetics to history, literature, qualitative, quantitative, language, and all of those different requirements. These are super fun because they might be liberal arts requirements, but also they're fun classes that you're going to be taking during the time. So during my time, one class that covered a little bit of the U.S. history perspective. It was the history of the alternative press. So how different newspapers, radio stations, and TV stations cover different events and different communities in the United States. So I love that class, and that's one way that you can learn about a different part of history, but also understand how different communities communicated with each other and information was disseminated during different eras in the United States. So that's just an example of some of the classes that you're gonna be taking during your time at Emerson.
Super, thank you. I will take this question. So there's a number of questions. Many folks have noted we actually have a new major that we have been rolling out, which is our BFA in Film, Television, and Media. And so there's just a couple questions about selecting that or not selecting that. To start, if you want to have a deeper conversation about this, which I would certainly encourage, definitely reach out to your admission counselor when we'd be happy to have a conversation with you about that. If you, you are being asked to make a selection in your portal. If you applied to the media art production major, you can either stick with that BA or Bachelor of Arts selection, or you can select the new Bachelor of Fine Arts in Film, Television, and Media. Essentially, the difference comes down in many ways to credits. So the BFA major will require 12 additional credits that be completed within that major specifically. And those go towards largely upper level production credits, your BFA thesis, and things like that. The Bachelor of Arts degree will allow many of those credits to be a little more flexible. So you could take additional film classes, but you could also put those towards space in a minor or other liberal arts classes, things like that. So it's really up to you. There's really no like benefit or drawback to one over the other. It's whatever you want your educational experience to be. And if you select one and you get to Emerson and you're talking with your academic advisor and you figure out, hey, actually maybe the other option was a better choice for me, your academic advisor will absolutely work with you on that and we'll get you to the right spot. All right. Let's see. We have many questions here, so thank you so much for folks who are submitting those. And we're getting through them as we go here. Molly, not to pick on you, but since I know you love orientation as much as I do, can you talk a little bit more about what move-in day looks like? We're in the middle of a city. It seems like it shouldn't work, but it does work. Can you talk about why and how?
I absolutely can. So we at Emerson have orientation, which, as I said a little bit before in this webinar, is one of my favorite events of the year. And that is because when you arrive to campus, all of our orientation leaders, which are current students at Emerson, are out on the sidewalks, dressed up. They've got music going. They're excited to welcome you and help you take all of your things upstairs for move-in day. So that is a large part of the process when you arrive to campus for the first time. That is what you can expect, is all of our current students there to welcome you and help you move your things from your car, for example, up to your room in the little building, as that is where all of our first year students live, for those first year students. So that is a large part of the move-in day. And then from there, orientation will go on for the week with different events. So they do an open welcoming session. They'll also go over some of the resources on campus. So you'll have days where you have the opportunity to meet with different offices and collect their information and have that so that you're prepared to be a student on campus before everybody else arrives. You get that first week as a first year student and an incoming transfer student to really take that in. So orientation and move-in are a great aspect of the Emerson experience, and I think one of the most memorable pieces too, kind of having that define your first day at Emerson.
Excellent, thank you. Raphael, I'll start with you, but this question was directed to Emerson alumni who are here, so there's a few of us. Um, does Emerson have school spirit? Since we're not necessarily a traditional campus, what does that look like here? What do people do outside of class? What do weekends look like?
I mean, to answer, yes, absolutely. Look, I have a lion on my screen, so I'm definitely there's definitely a school spirit going on. But I'll be honest, and this comes from somebody who didn't do theater before coming to Emerson and wasn't raised in that environment, right? For me, one of the most beautiful experiences during my time at Emerson was to see my friends perform. It's really similar to sports, it's somebody who you know, who you're close with, and then to see them transform in this unbelievable human being on stage is an incredible experience. To see your friends control the lighting and the sound in a show. Also, it is mind-blowing to see your friends do a live broadcast at any of the studios on campus. It's really, really beautiful. If you heard a little bit about our student-run award show, the Emmys, to see your friends at the Emmys award, either win an Emmy or perform at the Emmys or be part of that experience is also really beautiful. Not to mention that we also have athletics on campus. So our women's soccer team won the championship a couple of years back, and that was super exciting to see and celebrate. So there's a lot of good opportunities on campus to celebrate each other, which is one of the goals of the community. And besides that, we're in downtown Boston, so there's going to be really phenomenal opportunities around. I love to go to restaurants, so there's a lot of restaurants near campus, from Newbury Street to Chinatown to the North End. Um, that you can go explore. If you like boba tea, there's a lot of places around to go get some boba. So yes, you'll be busy on campus because we have a lot of clubs and organizations where those will keep you busy enough, but also you should take the time to enjoy all the wonderful things that Emerson and Boston have to offer. Adriana, do you have anything else that you love doing during your time on campus?
You really touched on a lot of the highlights for those who aren't yet familiar, and you should absolutely become familiar. But Bova's, which Raphael mentioned, is a 24-hour bakery in the North End. So if you're looking for some good baked goods, that's a very short walk away. Um, I'm always a fan of, we're so centrally located in the city. It really is easy to get to some other places around. And I'm going to ask a transportation question in a second, but there's just so much to do around the city. I'm a bit of a history nerd, so I like experiencing all the local history that's around, the museums, the Freedom Trail, which is a stone's throw away from our campus, things like that. And there's just so much going on, not only in the city itself, but also the surrounding suburbs and different neighborhoods around Boston too are really great to visit. Anything to add, Molly?
Yes. I love being in Boston, like Adriana was saying. I grew up in the area, so of course that's part of it too. But can't agree with Bova's. Also, all the museums, you get access to all of those for free as an Emerson student. And I always like to put in there that I went to a World Series game for the Red Sox for $9 during my first year at Emerson. So can't really beat that. Whether you are a sports fan or not, I think it's really exciting to experience Fenway. And being in Boston. So I'll add that in there too. And then also just for on campus, one of my favorite things was going to comedy shows. I had so many friends that were in comedy troupes on campus, and that was a big part of our weekends. So I always like to shout out the comedy troupes too.
I always say, partially as a joke, but I'm actually mostly not joking, that if you're bored while you're here, something's gone very, very wrong. There's just too much going on, too many wonderful people around for you to be bored at Emerson. Kind of springboarding off of that, Molly, would you actually mind expanding on what kind of transportation options are offered around campus for people to
Yeah.
get to all of those great things?
Absolutely. So, right outside of Emerson's door is the Green Line, which is a part of our MBTA system or our train system. So, on the Green Line, you can get anywhere from Fenway to those museums that we were talking about, and everything in between. So, the Green Line is great. You've also got the Red Line, which is going to head towards the Cambridge direction, towards the South Shore, the commuter rail, which brings you out many more places. We're also close to some Amtrak stops too. So the train system is really a core part of the Boston experience. And being a student in Boston, you're going to get to know the train system, the T as we call it, very well. And I always like to say too, you'll feel that sense of community in Boston and feeling like you're in an area with a lot of students because you'll see them all on the T. So you often see and meet students from other schools too on the T, which is an exciting part of the experience. And of course, we are downtown, so if you ever had to Uber out for any reason, super easy to do that in Boston. The driving a car, parking situation, not as much for Emerson. So that is why we really rely on the T. And once you get to know it, you'll get to know it probably in the first week or so. It's a really easy system to take and get to know.
Thanks, Molly. Diana, could you talk about we have a question that is, about someone who's from the suburbs and they're kind of wondering what it's like to be in the city, navigating the city, both literally but also just socially, and what that kind of looks like. Just to draw a little bit of a picture, it's hard to explain without experiencing it, but we can try.
Yeah, definitely. I think I am one of the only people on this panel who didn't graduate from Emerson. I'm also originally from California. So, as someone who moved to the Boston for the first time, I do think navigating the city is pretty easy in terms of like kind of like Molly mentioned, public transportation. I think one of the great things about being in the city and also being an Emerson student is that you have access to a lot of free museums, including the ICA, and other museums and theaters and shows and things like that. And like Molly said, it's pretty easy to get around from one part to the other part of the city, especially during, the summer and things like that. We are right across from the Boston Commons, so typically students will go out there, have picnics, have, class outside, study outside. So there's definitely a lot of different opportunities for you to get involved, whether it be going to concerts or just going to museums. I think generally you have the opportunity to also interact with other, students who are going to local colleges within the Boston area. We have many different colleges in the surrounding areas, and so a lot of some of our student organizations have social events with other colleges as well. So you definitely have the opportunity not only to build friendships outside of Emerson College, but also to network and build relationships outside of Emerson as well.
Thank you, Diana. I can confirm I am local, but I was spent all of my life in a suburb before coming to Emerson, and so one of actually the great things that helped with that transition was orientation. And so we can't hype it up enough. It occurs the week before classes start, and so you get that moment to kind of get settled. before everyone else arrives back on campus. And not only are we familiarizing you with Emerson, but also the city. So it'll be a little bit of both during that orientation program. Um, we're getting through some of the remaining questions here. If we aren't able to answer your question live, just because there might be some more specific questions, some major specific questions that we may not be able to get to, just want to again put out a plug for reaching out to your admission counselor. I will add the link in the chat again because it probably got a little bit lost. Admission stuff. We would love to talk to you more specifically about some of these questions. And so please feel free to reach out to us at any time and we can set up a time to chat. We can also, what we can do is you can request a chat with a current student. So what your student will do is fill out that form and we will be happy to connect you with a student in their major of interest as well. All right, let's get back to this Q&A box. Raphael, since you were a journalism major, I think, and I understand why a lot of folks definitely kind of see what we do in media and see what we do in theater, and those are very like visually obvious things. Can you talk a little bit about the balance between the arts and what we do in the communications here as well? And, do students get the same experiences, the same levels of internships between the two kinds of programs?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that made me choose Emerson was that Emerson is a school of arts and communication. So I was definitely gonna get the attention to the program that I was gonna be studying here on campus. And I can speak on behalf of the School of Communications and all the great opportunities that I received. I remember getting to meet one of the presidential candidates for the Democratic side on 2016, also being able to have different guest speakers come weekly. There's Zoom opportunities or virtual opportunities to be able to connect with different professionals in the field. One of my professors is a Pulitzer Prize winner for photography. So he has two Pulitzer Prize winners as a photographer for the Miami Herald. So those opportunities really changed my life, and I'll be forever grateful to have those opportunities here on campus. So I will say no doubts about it, that you're gonna get some incredible opportunities. The School of Communication also takes a group of students to Barcelona during spring break. So that's also a great opportunity to see opportunities in Europe and also learn about our partners in Barcelona to the Blanquerna School of Communication there. So yeah, the opportunities are really, really endless. And I invite students to get connected with all the opportunities happening within their departments and also their majors.
Thanks, Raphael. Last couple of questions we have here. Molly, can you talk a little bit about, I know we mentioned it earlier, but just slightly more in depth, how class registration works in the first semester?
Yeah, absolutely. So for your first semester, your piece of the assignment for building your class schedule is essentially going to be to go into your portal and select courses that might interest you. So once you get to the point where you have decided you're coming to Emerson, you're going to get a whole student checklist where you'll have activities that you need to check off and get done. And one of those is sort of sorting through those classes and seeing what you might be most interested in. So you'll complete that form. And then from there, your schedule is built for you that first semester. So for course registration for the first semester, you don't have to worry about anything other than completing that class preference form. And they'll build your schedule off of that.
And it's probably actually just worth mentioning overall that basically once you let us know that yes, you're coming to Emerson and you submit your admission deposit, what will happen is that your checklist in your portal will become enrolled student checklist or a committed student checklist. And so you'll see some new things on there. Many of them you won't be able to do quite yet, but some of them you will. So we just encourage you always to keep an eye on that portal, and that'll always give you the up-to-date information on what steps you can take at what point in your Emerson journey. And as long as you stay on top of those, you will be in great shape. Diana, I'm going to actually interrupt you typing the answer and ask this question out loud for you. Can you talk about some of the other study abroad options we offer outside of the Netherlands campus and the Los Angeles campus that we've already talked about?
Yes, I was typing it out, but I can answer it live. So outside of those two campuses, we do have some global pathway programs, anywhere from Argentina, Australia, Austria, Chile, Ghana. So it really depends on maybe sort of what your interests are. Most of these programs have sort of major recommendations, but most of them don't necessarily, you don't have to be part of a specific major in order to be a part of one of these study abroad programs. A lot of our students definitely do take advantage of these opportunities, although it is not a requirement. But I definitely encourage you to see some of the programs, and I can go ahead and post a link on the chat that shows some of the other programs that students can take advantage of. But yeah.
Thank you so much for making that pivot. All right, as we wrap things up here, I would love to go around, and if each of you could just share kind of one piece of advice that you would like to offer to folks at this point in the journey, what would you like them to know? Um, Raphael, can we start with you, and then we'll go Diana, Molly, and I'll wrap things up.
Thank you, Diana. Yes, I will say connect with current students. It's always wonderful to hear about their experiences because you can learn from them. They were a freshman once, and now they've been going through the process. So definitely connect with somebody in your program. You saw that at again I posted on the chat the link to be able to speak with a current student. So that's a wonderful resource. And as we've been saying, also connect with your admission counselor. We would love to hear from you and also have a conversation with you and your parents if they have any questions whatsoever. So don't hesitate to reach out. We love speaking with you and answering any questions because all this information will be helpful for you during the process. Molly?
Yeah, I would say take the time to get to know Emerson now. If you still have questions and you want to come visit us and you want to talk to students, there's ways to do that on or off campus. So take advantage of that. Contact your admissions counselor if you have questions, because they'll help be able to navigate you to those resources. So for example, the Admitted Student Picture Yourself Day on the Boston campus on the 11th is always a great opportunity. If you're a West Coast student, that Emerson Los Angeles opportunity on April 18th. We also always offer tours. We have class visits for admitted students, so you can find that on the admitted student website if you want to schedule one of those on-campus visits. And then you can also always learn more about Emerson virtually. So say that you can't make it out to campus, we do offer student one-on-one. So if you want to chat with a current student in your program, that can be a great way to get to know classes that you might be taking, activities you could be involved in. So that can tell you a lot about the campus too. So definitely reach out if you have any questions about Emerson.
I can go. A lot of both Rafa and Molly stole a lot of my answers, but I will say I think, like echoing it once again, reach out to us. We have so many student workers who are eager to share their experience while being here at a student at Emerson. But I think a lot of it is just like embrace this moment in time. I think, being accepted into Emerson College is a huge accomplishment. And I think, just celebrate and sit with that. And like Molly said, and Rafa, make sure that you take advantage of whether it's in-person events or there are some virtual, tours and things like that that you can take advantage. We know that not all students and families can make their way to campus, but, just reach out to us and we'll be able to try to figure something out, or whether it be setting up a Zoom call or connecting with other students. But again, just celebrate the moment, and you should be extremely proud of this accomplishment. And, just congratulations again.
Yes, we can't echo that enough. you should pat yourselves on the back for everything you've already done so far, everything we know you're going to do. You're going to have a great next few months and next few years in college. A couple of things to keep in mind. Make sure to keep an eye on those portals and your email address. Can't stress that enough. We are definitely going to communicate with you early and often, so make sure to check those two places for those communications. I'm adding a couple of things to the chat, a couple of repeats, a couple of new things. If we've said it once, we've said it a million times, please feel free to reach out to your admission counselor. We're all listed on the website. If you don't already know who your counselor is, check your portal, but also if you're looking at the list and you're not sure, the person who's assigned to the region where your school is located, that is your counselor. So reach out to them. All things admitted student live on that admitted.emerson.edu webpage, which is where you can book some of those tours and visits, find out other admitted student information, and keep up to date with things there. We certainly welcome students to sign up with a chat with a current student. You can do that via that link in the chat. And then the final link is to our other upcoming admitted student webinars. So at the top, we mentioned that next week we'll be holding a financial aid webinar, and we're anticipating releasing financial aid packages for folks who submitted a FAFSA in the next couple of days. So feel free to keep an eye out for that email invitation, and there will be a button in students' portals to register for that. If you're an international student, we would encourage you to just reach out to your admission counselor with aid questions. That would be the best and most direct way to do that. And there will also be some other webinars for international students as well, including an international student meetup, a Visa 101 session. There is one posted on YouTube already, but we'll be hosting another in May. And we'll also be doing some great study abroad sessions, among others. So keep an eye out for those. Make sure to sign up for them. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate it. We hope it was helpful to you. Make sure to sign up for that Picture Yourself at Emerson event on April 11th or the Admitted Student event on April 18th at Emerson, Los Angeles in California. We look forward to seeing you soon, and thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.